Hello, hello, hello. It is a new episode of the Sprint Right Option podcast, part of the Blue Wire Hustle Network. My name, you know it. It's Andrew Pass. I hope you know it at least. My name is Andrew Pasquini. To my right is, man, I wanted to make I'm going to leave the door open joke with you. I don't know why I'm not going to.
Oh,
It's a great song. It's a good
it
song. I
is.
listened to it today and I'm like, man, Jason. Jason Aponte to my right. That's how I decided to introduce you today. It's just kind of what I think of. Yeah,
No, that's awesome. Honestly, that's like one of the best songs in the world. Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars. Also an electric combination. You know what else is an electric combination? Clint Frazier and the Yankees. Walk-off homer yesterday. 2-run single right now. Let's go Yankees. My bad.
Yankees all the way back after a very bad weekend.
Oh, no, they're not all the way back. They're in trouble. But hey, we'll talk about that later.
Listen, just for Jason, we're not going to mention the Tigers or even the Bengals. We're not going to bring up any type of Tiger today. I don't want to upset Jason. He seems to be in a good mood. He's talking about the Yankees winning already, so like it's good. Usually I try and save the baseball stuff for the last 30 seconds. Jason's bringing it up in the first minute and a half. Dylan says we are off the goop. I don't know what that means. That's okay. Jason, I discussed it a little before. I don't know what that means. But yeah, so we're here, Sprint Right Option Podcast, as I said. And as Allen Iverson once famously said, and Ted Lasso less famously said in his show, we're talking about practice.
Practice?
We're talking about practice. I don't know, man. It's OTAs. Jason and I had an idea for today's episode. Thank you very much, Mariah. Yeah, it's my hat. It's the hat I picked today. We talked about the plan for the show today. We're like, hey, this is our idea. And then, we opened it up for questions. We got a million great questions, so much so that we decided we're just going to do a mailbag on Friday. So if you came here to look for your questions to be answered, that's going to be Friday. We're going to do another Friday show. It is not just OTAs for the team. It's OTAs for Jason and I. We've been doing a lot of one episode per weeks. We need to get back into season form because once the season starts, we're going to be 2 episodes a week again. So we're doing the podcast OTAs, Jason. That's what's going on right now.
Well, we're warming up as well too, right? So a lot of the people are just trying to get familiar with things. We've got to get back into the swing of things the same way that the players have to get back into the swing of, learning the system, learning their new spots and things like that. And with us, it's just about, we're the vets, right? We've been here for a year. We've done it. This isn't our first season going into this. So now we just need to get warmed up and get ready to go. And that's really what the podcast OTAs are all about for us.
We're getting those takes nice and loose. We're getting the arms loose. We're ready.
Yeah.
So Jason, maybe not the most important thing to happen today, as we shift to the 49ers and the OTA talk. But I have a quote that I just really wanted to open up with when we talk about this. Quote, if I got to be an asshole, I know I got to do it. If I got to be an asshole, I'll be an asshole. If I got to be a big brother, I'll be a big brother. If I got to be a coach, I'll be a coach. But I can't do none of that if I don't lead by example. And that is one Jimmy Ward.
Woo!
And we'll start with that. Is that quote better than I don't know if we're going to be alive on Sunday? Because the I don't know if we're going to be alive on Sunday was good because it was so shocking. Like, whoa, what did he just say? This is a great quote by Jimmy Ward. He's pretty much saying, listen, man, I'm a leader on this team and I will be what I need to be to help people out. I love it.
Yeah,
it's a great quote.
He's the longest tenured 49er. He's been through hell and back when it comes to the way the public perception has been between the media and the fans as well. And he's starting to get his flowers now, finally, in year 7 or 8 at this point. Yeah, I mean, he's starting to feel like the leader of this team because he's the longest tenured at this point. And I want people to stop sleeping on Jimmy Ward. I see it all the time. Not only PFF put out their safety list. For Jimmy Ward to be 18th on that list is criminal. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Whatever. I have my beef with PFF. We'll keep it to ourselves. But honestly, man, Jimmy Ward saying all those things and everything, he seems loose. And then you left out the best part of it.
He listens to Grant. Yep.
Yeah. So Grant Cohn asked the question, and Jimmy, before he even starts talking about, oh, there he is. He was like, I watch your show all the time and everything. And it's like, what gets me scared more than anything, Andrew? Does he watch when I'm on the show? I'm scared now.
You remember a couple weeks ago when I would jokingly be like, "Hey, Debo, I know you're watching. Hey,
Right.
whatever name." Now I'm kind of like, is Jimmy Ward, if you're here, just like comment with your burner, say something. I don't know. Yeah, I thought that was a very. By the way, I want to give Grant a ton of credit. I know we don't talk about other podcast things going on because we talk about the
But
Niners.
that thing he did with the kids,
Him with the kids yesterday, that is
Yeah.
that is one of the coolest things you'll see. And like,
absolutely.
like, yes, you can dislike Grant for his takes on the 49ers. He knows how to play the game. That's what I'll say on that. But what Grant Cohn is the best at is giving people opportunities.
Yeah.
And even something as small as having 3 7th graders on a what's the yesterday Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Bro, those 7th graders, and I apologize for not remembering their names. I'm
Amin
sorry.
the Dream.
I remember
Dream,
Amin.
and Amin's the one who brought them all together. But honestly, man, as a kid, that's something that so think about this, right? As a kid, I used to write articles for my dad when he would miss games and things like that to let him know what was going on, and I would just hand them to him and say, "Here's what happened at the game." Now you're in a place where you can do things like this on YouTube. Those kids, honestly, that's the dream. That's always been the dream as for me as a kid to do things like that, man. Listen, say what you want about Grant. That was a cool ass moment, honestly, man. You got to give him his flowers for that one, honestly, man, for real.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the stream real quick to find the kids' names. I know one was Not Your Average Sports Kid.
Sports Kid. Yep.
Not Your Average Sports Kid is such a good name. Like that's 100% like my gamer tag when I was 12. Benjamin, Not Your Average Sports Kid, and Amin the Dream. I don't want to say Benjamin's last name. It's on Grant's page, but I'm not going to say because under the age of 18, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, good on Grant. I want to get that out because that's super cool. And like when I was a 7th grader, like that would be the cool. Like that's the thing that I would be bragging to my friends about all summer. It's like, yeah, Grant Cohn had me on his podcast.
Right.
So
the camper report, I think was the other kid.
Yeah, so there we go. Wanted to touch on that. So let's get back in. We talked about the Jimmy Ward.
We'll get back to Jimmy Ward.
I really wanted to get that. So we'll start with something that went around a little bit, people talking about it. I'm going to say, hey, it is June 2nd. Don't worry about it. Players who missed practice today, Jalen Hurd rehabbing from an ACL. Brandon Ayuk, he has a great groin strain. Richie James missed practice with a hamstring strain. Travis Benjamin with a calf strain. Deebo Samuel had a personal matter. And then obviously Jeff Wilson, who has a torn meniscus.
Brandon Ayuk.
I had Ayuk groin strain.
Richie James didn't practice. Basically, every starting receiver didn't practice. And Deebo's personal problem, I don't know if it has to stem with his window getting broken at Valet in the mall or whatever, or something like that in Cali. Maybe he had to go get that fixed today, something like that. So I don't know.
I don't even know.
Per his IG story, he left his car in a Valet, and he came back. His window was smashed on the right side. Yeah, so that probably could have been it.
Fun. Yeah, and I mean everybody. Like, yes, we are conditioned after 2020 and all the injuries to be like, oh God, here we go.
Relax.
It is June 2nd.
Relax.
Opening day or opening week, whatever you want to call it, week 1, that's probably the proper term, isn't for another 3 months. The Niners are playing this very slowly. Yeah. They're not going to force Richie James to go out there with a hamstring strain on June 2nd. Go ahead.
One thing I'll say is every healthy, able-bodied 49er in the area was there. Robbie Gould showed up today because he's healthy and he's ready to go. So the whole team, whoever's healthy, is there. So honestly, you should be excited about that.
Oh, actually, did that mean D Ford was there today?
No.
D Ford was not there, so he wasn't on this list. That's okay. But I think they knew he wasn't going to be there because he was sent home, as we said last week, to rehab. So that's not too big of a worry. So yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing I saw today with kind of the Twitter reactions. I haven't had a chance to really sit down and look at what happened at OTAs and all the press conferences. I know somebody who does, and I want to get his opinions. Jason Aponte, tell me about D'Amico Ryans. Tell me what he said. Tell me things that you noticed. Well, I don't know, just give me what you thought.
Well, 2 things jumped out at me. First of all, he's very well versed with the media, and that has to do with how much he was a player and how much he had to deal with the media and everything as well. But he also says something that makes me feel good because when people asked, all right, what do you expect from this defense going forward with D'Amico Ryans? I expected more man, more blitz, basically D'Amico Ryans came out today and said this defense is going to be a lot more aggressive, and he wants to take calls away so guys can react and just move and things like that. So, I mean, I'm happy that we at least nailed that. I mean, honestly, they tipped their hand with the way that they drafted. When you draft guys who are press corners, who play man, and you know that. So the biggest tip-off, I feel, was when Kwaski had his introduction press conference after he signed his one-year deal. And he talked about, I hope D'Amico blitzes me 12 times, 13 times a game. Yeah. That's not something he pulled from the air. That's something that when they discussed him coming back, this is how we want to utilize you. This is how they want to move. So when you listen and you parse all those things together and you parse the right quotes together, you'd understand that D'Amico is going to change this up a little bit. You'll see a lot more man. You'll see some more pressure coming. And these are things that we talked about on here. So I'm happy that we at least talked about it in the right way and somewhat before even one play happens. It's kind of validated with what D'Amico Ryans said. So that's what I took away from it.
Yeah, and somebody actually brought up I forget who had it, so I apologize. Like I'm taking somebody's. I thought this is the defense is kind of dealing with what the offense is dealing with. Is everybody's talking about Trey Lance? He's a rookie quarterback. Rookie quarterbacks don't have much success, especially when they're drafted in the top 3. And the counter to that is, well, it's not too often that a top 3 quarterback pick gets to go to a team that's 1 year removed from a Super Bowl, right? That doesn't happen, so it's a little bit of a different. Same thing with D'Amico. He is coming in first-time coordinator, right? He's never been a defensive coordinator, and you get one of the best defenses in the NFL to work with. That's got to be something that I guarantee you, he's excited for. There's already a great, defensive scheme, and how much he strays off of it because he's going to have his different things he likes in Robert Saleh. It's not going to be a frame for frame same defense thing because Ryan has his ideas that are different than what Saleh has. So things like that are going to be different. But he gets to come in and like how electric can it be to be like, hey, this is my defense. Oh, there's Nick Bosa, there's Fred Warner, there's Drake Greenlaw, there's Jason Verrett, there's Richard Sherman, Jimmy Ward, Jaquaski Tart, all these guys, and he's like, okay, yeah, this is not the worst setup because more often than not, when there's new defensive coordinators coming in, it's because the defense struggled the year before, and now you got to take over and figure out how to fix it. He already has this thing in place. He already has all this talent in place. I don't know, man. He's got to feel pretty good about it.
Absolutely. And a lot of the stuff that you saw last year, you'll see a little of it, but I feel like the variations are going to change. And remember, when we talked about concerns with D'Amico, it wasn't about scheme or anything like that. It's going to be about play calling. It's going to be about play calling at the right moment. Can you send the blitz at the right time? Can you dial up the right play at the right time? And I think that's what Robert Saleh learned over his time here, 1 through 4, honestly. And you're absolutely right, Andrew. When defensive coordinators are brought in, it's usually because the last guy failed, not because that guy got promoted to a head coach. And that's the difference when it comes to D'Amico. So he's been there. The 49ers are constantly developing coaches to take other coaches' places and put them in positions to get other jobs. So when you want to talk about how deep this roster is, yes, but you also want to talk about how this team and this organization right now under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch develops coaches. And I think that's the important part of this. So, listen, D'Amico's going to take his lumps. There's going to be times where he's going to be learning on the fly. But today, he seemed like confident right in front of the camera, just like Saleh is right now. And he honestly has the attention of the locker room, I believe. So I really have less concerns with it, especially when he's talking about doing things that I thought he would in terms of being more aggressive, letting guys just go ahead and play. And I think that's really important because you want to take the thinking out of defense. Even though the scheme was impossibly simple before this, now you really just want guys to react and go. I took everything away from D'Amico Ryans' press conference and thought highly of it.
Yeah, and he's I'm just going through this Matt Barros article on The Athletic. He's the second youngest defensive coordinator in the league. You mentioned he knows how to talk to the press. He's already doing well as a coach. When he was asked about what the defense would look like, he said they would be a fast attacking, aggressive defense, which is just very good coach speak for. I'm not going to tell you. Why would I say anything about that?
Anybody would say that.
But they said Jimmy Ward, like players kind of gave a little bit more of insight of what Ryans has been saying. Jimmy Ward said, Ryans is trying to make the defense simpler so players can react faster. And Ekubom, or Ebukam, I'm going to get that backwards all year. I don't know why. Cool. I get the K and the B switched up. It happens. He said the Rams defense, they like to read things where Ryans is teaching them, no, attack, be aggressive. So it's going to be those little things that we're going to see. And it's going to be really fun watching. I know, watching the tape, not everybody does it, but watching the defensive tape, comparing last year to this year, to little subtle changes that are either going to make the Niners defense better or worse, whatever way it goes. And then not just those changes, but the adjustments. So it's really going to I'm getting so excited for the season.
No, yeah, honestly,
I am saying this stuff, just getting juiced for it.
You're getting me hyped though, because now I'm thinking about after week 1, we get a chance to take a look at the tape and say, okay, these are the comparisons to last year. These are the things that are different and things like it's just you're absolutely right. You're juicing me up right now as well too. When you're saying all this stuff, is because we have tons of stuff to dissect and analyze and go through basically. Because yes, there are going to be things that you see that are from 2019, 2020 when Saleh was there, but there's going to be stuff that you're not going to, you haven't seen from DeMeco Ryans. And if he's dialing it up in the right way, then things are going to start to look different, honestly. And that's really exciting, honestly. So Andrew, you juicing me up right now, man. I thought this was just going to be a regular June 2nd conversation where we just talked about whatever we saw. But honestly, man, I want to run through the wall at this point.
Yeah. Let's just start week 1 tomorrow. Let's go.
Yeah, go. Start
two quarterback system. We don't have a starter yet. 2 quarterback system, positionless football. Another thing Ebukam said, just talking about D Ford, quote, he's definitely a vet voice in the room. He's definitely given me some pointers on how to get off the rock faster, what type of pass rush moves. So it's good to see. It's good to see that D Ford, while not there, is still giving his input. That's what you want from a veteran, right? As a guy who hasn't been there, he's never played with Ebukam, but he's out there trying to give the help. I guess we started with defense since we've been talking about Ryans. Jason Verrett, apparently he's looked really good. He looks like he's full speed. Barrow said the most striking thing is the jersey number 2, which is something we all have to get adjusted to. But Verrett also talked about Diamador Lenore. He said, Demo, man, that's a guy I think has come along very well just from the first time seeing him in the film and in rookie minicamp. He's a guy that's really good at press coverage. I definitely watched all throughout the time being here. The second he gets more comfortable, he's definitely going to be a very good player for us. So, that's good to hear a veteran say that about a rookie. Really, we're at the point where we're just pulling quotes and seeing what's interesting. Was there anything else, not from DeMeco Ryans or anything that you found interesting today?
Just that, pulling from Grant's article, today he said that he was 70 yards away and he had to watch through binoculars, but he said that Trey Lance obviously progressed very quickly from the last time he saw him. Mm-hmm. He hit, quick quote, 11 from 18, 61%, 2 passes were dropped, 6 of 7 on 7-on-7, which is the most challenging setting for Lance because he can't scramble or roll out. During this drill, he fired a 40-yard deep completion up the right sideline to George Kittle. It was a perfect pass. I'm not going to read that next part because it's kind of divisive, but Lance threw a beautiful pass to Kittle while rolling left and fading away from a pass rusher in his face. Lance seems like a quick learner. Although he sails the occasional pass, he's going to be terrific. Those were words from people that were there today. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't do too much, apparently. Apparently, it was just simple stuff real quick. Jimmy's going to start week 1. Can we just put that to bed at this point? It's not going to be Trey. It's going to be Jimmy week 1, barring some sort of catastrophic performance in camp and in preseason. But Jimmy they were just trying to ease him in, and he didn't do anything today. That's fine. Josh Rosen, he said, did well. He said that here's another thing that I thought was kind of interesting. When I had Grant on the show on my channel, he talked about Juwan Jennings being the guy who immediately jumped out at wide receiver 3. Today, he wrote about Mohamed Sanu being the leader in the clubhouse right now for wide receiver 3 because it's wide open. He says his only healthy competition right now is Juwan Jennings at this point, who spent last year on the practice squad. And Juwan Jennings, he beat K1 with a 12-yard out on 11-on-11s and caught a 15-yard pass over the middle. If Jennings stays healthy, he's likely to contribute. Trey Sermon, this is big. This is really big, honestly, right now because of all the injuries. Started a running back because Raheem Mostert was out with an injury. You talked about that earlier, right?
No, we haven't talked about Sermon yet. You want to talk about Mostert?
No, Mostert. Mostert got injured, so Mostert wasn't there because he's banged up. So that's why Mostert wasn't there. But It's clear the 49ers are prepping Sermon for a big workload in 2021, and he seems ready. Yeah, I mean, those were the things that I took from what he said as far as good in his article. So,
I just realized the list I was looking at was just the receivers the 49ers were missing. So I did not get all the injuries. I apologize. Yep. My point still stands, though. It's June 2nd. The Niners are being extra cautious. Nathan Jerry, he didn't practice. Tart didn't practice. Marcel Harris and Raheem Mostert. So those were the added, and Maurice Hurst. Those were the added names. That's the update. I just listed the receivers earlier. And yeah, you mentioned the 2 drops and kind of what the receivers are looking like. The 2 receivers that got the most snaps today were Jawan Jennings and Mohamed Sanu. Sanu got 4 targets on 11 on 11s. The second most targets went to Trent Sherfield. So the Niners very low on receivers, but let's spin this a little positively. It's June 2nd. None of these injuries are serious. So like, it's not like, Ayuk's out for an extended or Debo's out. So the Niners are getting a chance to see what they have at receiver right now. Like, Trent Sherfield probably wouldn't get much run if Ayuk or Debo were active or playing today. You're practicing today, same with Sanu, same with Jawan Jennings. So the Niners are going to be able to figure out this second receiver or the third receiver spot with these reps. So things like that. So that's right. Exciting. And for the running back, I don't want to spill into too much of what we're going to do Friday with the questions, but you mentioned Trey Sermon and Javi asked this, and we could touch on this a little more. Does Trey Sermon have a chance to be running back 1 out of camp? You know what? I'm going to say it. I think he has the best chance, and that's no knock against Raheem Mostert. I think that's more of a Trey Sermon being fresh legs, a rookie. We know Mostert has issues with the injuries. He could be that home run hitter running back that gets 10 carries a game who's trying to get as many yards as he can, where Sermon takes on, the quote-unquote lead back role, because I don't think there's really a lead back position in the 49ers offense, even when everybody's healthy. I know that Shanahan likes to rotate those guys. I could see Sermon being the running back 1 week 1.
Yeah, and remember, we talked about this when Trey Sermon was drafted. Trey Sermon profiles like a running back that the 49ers have not had since Frank Gore, honestly. A bell cow, workhorse type of guy in between the tackles, okay? Everybody loves Raheem Mostert, and I love what he brings to the team, but I always felt that Trey Sermon was always built for more work, and I think that, honestly, you're going to see that sooner than later with the injuries more than anything. I mean, if Jeff Wilson's going to miss 6 games, then Trey Sermon's got to immediately play. So, I mean, this is kind of just putting the pieces together and understanding what type of back he profiles as. So Trey Sermon honestly does have a really good chance to be the starter week 1 with Raheem Mostert being that guy who remember 2019. Let's go back to 2019.
Oh God, that's so long ago, Jason. That was a whole pandemic ago.
I know. Everybody wants to yell about Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman started. He would start. He would be in between the tackles, and then Raheem Mostert, just like Kyle Shanahan's a boxer, jab, 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 set you up, home run with Raheem Mostert. I could totally see Trey Sermon being that type of guy and still keeping Mostert available for those home run hits. Mostert only needs 10, 12 carries to be effective and to cause a damage in this game. You really don't want to work him 15 to 18 carries. So you want Trey Sermon to be that guy who's going to take the lumps in between the tackles. So, I mean, honestly, it's kind of just lining up as the way that they want it to. Raheem Mostert is the most experienced back on here. I'm not trying to downplay him. I am not trying to downplay how he hits holes and how fast he is. I'm just talking about what makes sense in the long term. And Trey Sermon probably profiles more like the long-term in between the tackles back for now, with Mostert being able to stay fresh, which is what you really wanted. I understand in the NFC Championship, they just went crazy with Raheem Mostert. They didn't bring anybody else in. That's fine. I'm talking about you got to make it 17 games before you get to the playoffs. So you got to make sure that you keep that guy fresh before you do all those things. Trey Sermon absolutely has a shot at being a running back 1. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, you look at what Raheem Mostert is. Like, let's just be honest about what he is and who he is. And like, we're not knocking him when we're saying, hey, he's going to be running back 2, because as I said, Shanahan's system is a 2, 3, 4 running back system. There's really no RB1, but he doesn't get a ton of carries even when he's fully healthy. The most carries he's gotten in a game in his career was the game against Baltimore in 2019. 19 carries, 146 yards, right? That was out of necessity, though, because the conditions of the game, it was wet, all that stuff. But like if you look at his mid-range, right, he has a game where 17 carries, but a lot of his higher carry games are 14, 13, 12. In his games where he has anywhere from 10 to 14 carries, right, he's averaging 3.8, 4.6, 4.8, 6.3, 7.2, 6.5. Like all these numbers are above 4. He even had Miami of the loss, 11 carries, 90 yards, 8.18 yards per carry. And it's like, if he can give you that 5 yards per carry on 13 carries a game, that's all you need from him. And then Sermon can pick up the other, let's make it 2 running backs. We'll pretend like they're running. If Sermon can pick up the other 20 carries, the Niners running the ball 30 times a game, passing the ball maybe 40 if everything's going perfect. That's not going to happen, right? But yeah, if Mostert can stay in that 10 to 14 carry per game, get 5 yards a carry, we're happy. He stays healthy, we're extra happy. Things like that. So we love Mostert. We're a pro Raheem Mostert podcast. None of this is to say anything negative. We're not trying to say Trey Sermon is better than Mostert. It's just you have a rookie running back, you use him, especially if you're picking him as high as, what was it, the third round, second round, whatever round they got him.
And they traded up.
So yeah, like if they can create a healthy rotation of Mostert, because like last year it was Mostert, Coleman, Wilson, McKinnon in some sort of rotation. Shanahan would use 3 of them more than the fourth. But like if you have a rotation of Sermon, Mostert, and then Wilson when healthy, it's like that could be even better. So we'll see what that means. Jason, we've talked about running backs a lot. Let's talk about some new faces real quick because the Niners have added a few. They added some Jones at receiver, not the Jones people are talking about. Andy Jones, that's good. That's a good one. I wasn't the only one who made that joke. Let's just say that I wasn't the only one who made the. Yeah, everybody. As Jason Aponte said, the lowest hanging fruit is sometimes the best tasting one.
The sweetest, yes.
Linebacker, they added veteran James Burgess. Mm-hmm. And then not the former Titans tight end everybody was expecting. They brought in Delaney Walker yesterday. But they signed not your Cole, but my Cole. It's actually Michael Pruitt. I just wanted to make the joke. He's coming in as a tight end. So and that doesn't necessarily mean Delaney Walker's out. I mean, the Niners added. The Niners added Jordan Reed pretty late last year in the process too. So it could just be a camp. It could be a million things. But so those are the 3 names that were added today. Those are the new faces. Wanted to touch on those names real quick.
So I think the Pruitt thing does kind of just take Delaney Walker out of it, and I'll tell you why. When you think about it, it's going to be Kittle, Warner's still there, Dwelly's not a blocker, Pruitt profiles as a blocker. I just don't see where Delaney Walker fits, and there's only so many roster spots at this point. So, I mean, I don't want to throw any water on the Delaney Walker come home thing because I'm with it. I'm cool with it. But yeah, I think that kind of ends that. Let's see. We got a question here from Mike Shenik 808. I hope I didn't get that wrong. I'm sorry. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate you, bro. Considering what Kyle said about how you do what it takes to get Julio, do you think the Niners may overpay to get Julio?
No.
Andrew?
The Niners don't overpay. I just especially when it comes to trades, right? They're not going to overpay, especially to get a position like, yes, wide receiver is a position that the Niners need, right? We're talking about wide receiver 3. Wide receiver 3 is a pretty important position to have, especially with today's game, a lot of 3 receiver sets. But no, the Niners aren't going to overpay for a wide receiver who's age 32 because receiver's not a position that is going to all of a sudden make you this world beater team, right? The Niners are very good. It's a luxury position. Like, yeah, the Niners would be better with Julio Jones, but like look in comparison, right? The name that comes into my mind is Odell Beckham, right? Because the Niners were interested in him. Who did Odell play for? The Giants wanted Buckner and picks. The Niners were like, no. And now the Browns have him, right? They may be overpaid. They pay a lot for Odell Beckham. And now, they make the playoffs for the first time in God knows how long, and Odell Beckham's not on the field, right? He would have been nice for them to have, but it's not like he was a huge part to them making the playoffs because he wasn't there. Now, are the Browns going to be better because they're going to have Odell Beckham next year? Absolutely, yes. Like everybody could use Odell Beckham, but receiver's not a position that's going to like give you better chances to make the playoffs. And like it's not even just the Niners are going to overpay for Julio Jones. I don't think any team's going to overpay for Julio Jones. I think at most the highest pick a team's going to give up is a second round pick. I don't think there's going to be an overpay for Julio Jones.
Yeah, and honestly, I want to throw caution to the wind with 49ers fans. Look, my prediction is that he doesn't end up on the 49ers, okay? And this has nothing to do with anything I've heard or anything like that. But Atlanta seems like they're going to wait as long as they can all the way up to training camp to figure out who's going to come up with the best package for Julio Jones. This isn't something where they're just trying to dump Julio at somebody's feet to just get the cap space off. No, they want to cash in on this. So you're probably going to have to send a second and a third probably. And if the 49ers overpay, it's only going to be picks and probably a player because they don't have picks to throw around like the way that some of these other teams that might be involved do. So I think that this is nowhere near being done. I know people had June 1st highlighted as if 4:00 p.m. Eastern time, this was going to be when you were going to see movement. Seems to me like Atlanta's dug in. They're going to sit there and they're going to wait to see what happens and see who eventually gets desperate. You know what's smart about what Atlanta's doing? You start your OTAs, you start to evaluate the guys that are there, you start to watch how they actually move against NFL players, and you really start to assess where your needs are. A team like the Tennessee Titans right now probably feel fine, okay, right? A.J. Brown, Josh Reynolds, they drafted Dez Fitzpatrick, okay? But what if they find out Josh Reynolds isn't going to get it done? Dez Fitzpatrick isn't it at all. And 3 weeks into camp or before camp, and they've already run all these OTAs, then it's when they run to Atlanta. Atlanta's being smart right now, if you ask me. Atlanta's being smart in the way that when you let people let them build themselves into a tizzy, that's when they send you stuff that you never would have asked for, right? Everybody knows that Atlanta wants a first-round pick. I think that anybody agrees that that's not happening. Not going to happen from anybody at this point, especially when you consider, even at 32, how good Julio Jones is. It's just a lot to invest as a wide receiver for those things that you mentioned, Andrew, about how wide receivers don't really change shit. I mean, change things or whatever going forward. Or anything.
Jason said stuff. Let the record show.
Right. Say stuff. So you're going to see that this is going to take a lot longer than you think it is. It's not going to be something that's going to happen this week. It's not going to be something that happens next week. If Julio Jones gets moved, it's going to be later on, closer to camp. One thing I do know is he will be moved. I just don't think it's going to be anytime soon. And as far as overpaying, the 49ers would have to send like a player, a two, one of their comp 3 picks from Mayhew and Saleh. That's overpaying in my eyes. I don't think that they're going to do that. And I think that the Falcons are going to wait it out until a team gets super desperate and they do something really, really stupid.
So can I ask it kind of a devil's advocate question? Not sure. Necessarily one I believe in. Sure. I want to see what you think. So if Atlanta takes the route of waiting and seeing, wouldn't that, in theory, put the Niners in a better position to trade for Julio Jones?
Yes.
With the past that Shanahan has with Julio, and a team like let's say it gets to July, like we're 2 weeks away from preseason, and Julio's still available, and the Titans are getting a little uncomfortable. And I don't even know if that'll happen, but let's just, for this hypothetical, let's say the Titans are getting a little uncomfortable because like, okay, well now we got to get this receiver, get him into the system. Newsay, he's got to learn it. Is he going to be fully into the system by week 1? We'll see. We're going to offer a little less for him, where the Niners could have that advantage of like, well, I mean, Julio played with an MVP quarterback with our head coach. He knows what this is. And maybe that gives the Niners an advantage. I don't know where the question is in there. That's just more of a devil's advocate thought in my head.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yes. The longer that this goes on, the less that the less urgency is behind it, right? And people don't get to the point where they're just trying to overpay. They're just at this point they're just saying you got to take what you can get at this point. So yeah, that's a good point, honestly. But I think that right now Atlanta's going to sit, they're going to wait, they're going to let people fight it out, and they're going to let people come to them. They honestly look. Kyle Pitts, all those guys that have been drafted that haven't been signed, they're not going anywhere, okay? Like, I understand that everybody's like, hey, Atlanta hasn't signed anybody. They'll be fine. Relax. They know. Yeah.
Don't let me give up on my Pitts and Kids dream, okay?
Hey, I mean.
Still not dead, technically.
So what happens? The Falcons just say, hey, all right, we can't sign you. Go take a walk, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, goodbye.
yeah, and then anybody could just walk up and say, "Hey, sign." No, honestly, they're going to be fine. They're going to take their time with this. They want to see how the market develops at this point. They also want to see the real suitors. Just because people are saying the Patriots want him, the Raiders are in on him.
Everybody.
Yeah, exactly. The Titans
the
are in on him.
The Rams want everybody. Yeah,
exactly.
Even the Niners want everybody, and like a lot of like. I've said this before. Good teams kick tires. Do the Rams need Julio Jones? Probably. I mean, they probably could. They're a receiver, whatever. The Seahawks, they don't necessarily need him. They don't have a lot of cap space, but good teams call and at least find out the price. And that's where a lot of these reports come out of the Seahawks are interested because somebody leaked that the Seahawks made a tire kicking call. And that's all. And
don't discount teams trying to keep players away from other teams. So don't discount the Seahawks and Rams seeing, oh my God, he's about to go over there to the Niners. Let's stop this because we have no way to stop that, honestly, at this point. And the Rams are just going to push their chips into the middle, honestly. I don't care. See, people want to yell at me on Twitter about they don't have picks, they don't have cap. Yeah, so what? I don't care about any of that. And apparently they don't either. So they don't have to send a first-round pick because nobody's going to give up a first round for Julio. They've got second and thirds, more than you believe, and they will definitely make it work with the cap. So stop playing like the Rams aren't in on this at all. They're the team that I see laying in the weeds, just going – Sean McVay does not care about picks down the line. You know why? Sean McVay's not going to be there in a few years. He wants to win a Super Bowl and dip. And when all those picks aren't there, he doesn't care. He's not going to be the coach anymore. Why don't you guys understand this portion? All right, my bad.
I love how fired up Jason gets. And before we ask this question, because Mike, great question. I do want to say about the people who say there's no way the Falcons don't get a first round pick for Julio Jones. In theory, yes. I absolutely agree. Like, you hear a name like Julio Jones, it's like, how do the Falcons not get a first round pick? And because to me, this is a salary cap move. They're just trying to get this contract off their books. So they're going to have to take less to get it off the books. That's what it is. And everybody knows it. It's not like the Falcons decided they're done with who. Everybody knows the Falcons are trying to cut corners, save that money. So teams are going to take advantage of that. That's why people are saying they're probably not going to get a first round pick because this isn't this isn't the comparison I had. This isn't a Deshaun Watson before all the accusations came out thing where teams are like, oh, it's going to be 3 first round picks because the Texans are trying to get rid of him, or he was forcing his way out. They're trying to get the best offer they can, where I'm not saying the Falcons aren't trying to get the best offer they can, but they're not trying to move him because I know Julio wants out. They're trying to move him to get rid of the contract. So they're going to have to take less because of it.
Well, they will eventually, but they also want to make sure that they kick every tire and make sure that someone – listen, stupidly, the Rams are paying for Jared Goff to go over there. So they're trying to hold out for things like that. You never know what teams are willing to do when they're desperate. So, yeah, I to that point, absolutely. Mike Shank – sorry about that, Mike.
Mr. Shank, we apologize.
Yes. Last name is pronounced Shank. Thank you for that. Mike Shank, thank you again for the donation. Everyone gets it wrong. Okay, so I feel a little bit better at this point. If Julio falls through, do you call New England for not Happy Gilmore, Stephon Gilmore? I would, but Stephon Gilmore is not the Stephon Gilmore of 2019, meaning he was the best cover corner in the league in 2019. Last year, I understand that the Patriots had a bunch of players opt out. I understand that team was barren, but he wasn't the same guy. Having said that, doesn't that sound like somebody that was brought over here and everybody was like, all right, so you say it then. You say it. Doesn't that sound like somebody that we didn't think was going to be good enough? Go.
Amin the Dream is here.
Oh, wow.
What up, Amin the Dream? We're answering questions. Yeah, no, I'm not. Like, you call Stephon, you call the Patriots, right? You call them. I'm sure the Niners have. And if the Patriots say, yeah, you can have Gilmore for like a 7th round pick, sure, why not? Sure, I would gladly take that. But
I mean, seventh round picks never hit. You immediately send that.
Yes, yeah, but that's only if the Patriots give you an offer that as the Niners are like, wait, yeah, we'll take that chance. Why are you going to trade draft capital when you just make a phone call and meet whatever Richard Sherman wants? Because Richard Sherman's very smart. He recognizes he's not breaking the bank anymore, right? Right.
All right.
Go ahead. This is why we have the pushback. Let's do it.
All right. Can I push back a little? Just look. no disrespect to Richard Sherman, who is the smartest cornerback I've ever seen play this game, and that's the reason that he's been effective for this long. Stephon Gilmore still at least a little bit better than him, especially in man coverage at this point, honestly. So I definitely believe that Stephon Gilmore has more to offer. If I was guessing that, honestly, with Sherman, if you're bringing him back, it's almost for a rotational piece and for him to teach other guys. Stephon Gilmore can immediately jump across the other side of Barrett. Now, do you expect Stephon Gilmore from 2019? I don't, but that doesn't mean that 2021 Stephon Gilmore is better than Richard Sherman right now.
So let me counterpoint your counterpoint.
Go for it.
Do you feel comfortable with Jason Verrett and Emmanuel Moseley as your 1 and 2 defensive backs right now?
I do. I do at this point because at this point I know one guy is fine with that, where he is with Moseley. Here's the part that gets me scared, and we've been talking about this. One of those guys gets injured, things start to get really scary. Again, I'm not worried about the secondary. The cornerback room scares the life out of me because if Jason Verrett gets injured, God forbid, knock on wood, he gets injured, now you're in trouble. Now Emmanuel Moseley has to start. Now you're talking about, let's see if Ambry Thomas got it. Now that's when things get me scared. They have to bring someone in. Someone else has to be there, honestly, for me to feel comfortable. Am I comfortable with Verrett and Moseley starting? Sure. Just don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's fair, and it's June, so we could play this assume injuries don't exist right now because they don't, right? So to me, it really comes down to, okay, you're comfortable with Verrett and Moseley. So why do we need to trade for a guy who has, according to Kyle, a $13 million contract? Why, if you're comfortable with corner, are you going to give that up when you could just get Sherman, have him be a rotational guy, and you can stick with the corners you like, and you have a guy you already know in the locker room. So that's my thing, why I would prefer Sherman over Gilmore when you're considering the costs and all that stuff. Like if you're asking me like right now, if I had a fantasy pick, if I had a fantasy draft and I had to pick between Sherman and Stephon Gilmore at this point, yeah, I'd pick Stephon Gilmore. Yeah, because I think he's better right now. But considering all of the factors of what it would take to get Gilmore, and you'd have to bump one of the cornerbacks that you're already comfortable with starting down a notch, I'd be fine with Sherman.
Yeah, and Amin the Dream, thank you, bro. This is a great question. Would you rather trade for J.C. Jackson or sign Brashard Breeland? I would love J.C. Jackson. I just feel like he's going to cost a little bit more, and I feel like nobody's talking about him. And Gabriel, thank you for this one. This is a really good one. Steven Nelson, man, please. Why isn't anybody signing Steven Nelson at this point? Even the people that I talked to from Pittsburgh that are Steelers fans have no idea why he was cut. It definitely wasn't for play. Definitely wasn't for cap at this point because they fixed Ben Roethlisberger's whole contract. Yes, they need to add more to this cornerback room. We've been saying it. I'm scared to death if one of these guys gets injured, then you're in a position where, okay, you got to start Brian Allen now against Miami. That's the problem. That's the issue. That's what you want to avoid. Nothing against Brian Allen, but when a guy who's been a career special teamer is forced to cover immediately right off the bat, then they're going to pick on him, and you want to avoid that situation, especially if you don't have the pass rush that you did in 2019. So, yeah, I just want them to bring somebody back. Look, Gilmore, J.C. Jackson is incredible, but I doubt that they're going to trade for him. I doubt that New England's going to let him go. And Steven Nelson is the name that's he's sitting out there. He's sitting out there. He's sitting at home right now. So I think that he's just kind of waiting for someone to get injured, someone to come call him. But Steven Nelson would be incredible to add to this cornerback room.
Yeah, and I know I'm a little higher on Sherman than a lot of other people. I'm a big Sherman fan, even back into Seahawks day. So really anything for me to keep him in a Niners jersey would be cool. So yes, I understand that I'm a little more biased on that. Jason, if I told you we were almost at 45 minutes, would you believe me? Because time has flown today.
Well, time flies when you're having fun, and nothing's more fun than talking. Nothing's more fun than talking with Andrew Pasquini about 49ers football, especially even if it's just about practice. Imagine when we get to actual games that we have to break down, man. Honestly, man.
So honestly, the most exciting thing for me is to talk 49ers football with Jason Aponte. So it's been fun, but we should probably wrap it up because we have a second show this week.
Yeah, we do. So honestly, guys, anybody that's watching right now, if you haven't sent in any questions, we took a ton on Twitter, but send us those
Yes.
questions on Twitter, and we'll add some more because next episode on Friday is going to be straight up mailbag. Anything that you want to know, and you know what, pepper in a question about how Andrew and I met and how this all happened, and maybe we'll get to that portion of it as well too.
Yes, and I see people making fun of me for my Gatorade. Yes, it's frozen solid.
What happened?
So, dude, I've been living off these Gatorades, man. These frozen Gatorades. It's been high 90s, mid 100s this week. Like it was 106 on Monday. It's hot. I need these frozen Gatorades, man. They're keeping me alive. The electrolytes. Oh man, it's electric. You know what they say? Water sucks. It really, really sucks. It's a good movie. It's a Waterboy reference. Come on, come on, Jason. Don't act like I'm slandering water. Water's very good. It's just I throw these frozen Gatorades in the freezer. Or, excuse me, I throw the Gatorades in the freezer, which then makes them frozen. It's very hot. We hit. Oh man, it was 106 on Monday. I know we hit that. It's probably cooling down a little bit. It is currently 91 in Sacramento, California.
Stop wearing hats indoors, then,
dude. I wear a hat? Do you see this? Do you see the show Lechuga? I think that's the first time I've shown off the hair on the pod. Dude, the hair, the show hair is wild. It's in that in between spot where it's not long, so it's very messy. I'm trying to see how long I can get it before I get real annoyed with it. It's getting to a point where I could put it up in a man bun if I really wanted to. So that's going to be it. We've reached the point, Jason, we've always reached where we really come off the railroads and we just kind of start talking about whatever we want. Jason, I will see you Friday. We'll see everybody on Friday. If you want that update, top of the 6th, Yankees lead the Tampa Bay Rays 4-2. Oh, what? Who has a better beard? Oh, my God.
Who has a better beard? Look, I am very proud of my beard because it took me forever to grow, but it is nowhere near Andrew's beard. That man's beard is impeccable. I've seen it in real life. I've had it brushed across my cheek on a hug. It's much better than mine, honestly. I mean, I gotta be honest with you, man. I have to be honest with you. It is so much better than mine. Look, I made Andrew laugh. Honestly, right now, what my beard is doing is a little bit of phantom stuff. Like I'm showing you this angle, okay? But I just wanna show you that Andrew's beard is much better. I felt it on my face. It's much better. It's a lot more. It's a lot more there than mine. Honestly, I'm working on it though, and I appreciate the question. I mean,
Jason, as always,
let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.